Hello, light beams, and welcome back to the Abundance Club. Thank you for being here. Thank you for tuning in. This is one of those episodes that is divinely inspired, little preparation, and opening up to the transmission of what wants to come through. So each day I have my morning practice where I will do my meditation and I will tune into my soul team, to my guidance team. You might tune into your angels or your higher self, and depending on where I'm at, I might choose where I want to, put my focus and open myself up to the information, the guidance that wants to come through. But it's always from that, no matter what you're tuning into, it's always from that highest aspect of my being. And we do this through intention. So I opened myself up to what was wanting to come through for me and for the community, because what I'm sharing in this channel, in this transmission, is very much what I am moving through currently or have moved through. So there's a deep coherence and resonance between what I'm bringing through and hopefully where you're at in your life and what's needed for you. So we're all connected, as we know. And if you are tuning into this podcast, it means that there is something that is calling you. And it likely means then that there is something here for you, a message here for you. So I hope that that translates through in this transmission this morning. It's interesting because we're now heading past the middle of February towards the latter part of February. And what I'm noticing in my community, with clients, with people in my world, is we're kind of kicking into this new gear of let's go, let's make things happen. And with that, noticing the familiar patterns coming up of stress, overwhelm, doubt, and a sense of really just being pulled back into the familiar conditioning. So you might notice, like, where are your resolutions that you set at the beginning of the year? Have they already fallen to the wayside? Or are you consciously tuning into the new habits, the new way of being, the new identity that is required in order for you to create something new, create a new reality for yourself in 2025? I'm going to guess that many of you are in the former option. Well, it is an option because we are choosing this whether we're conscious of it or not. But the former one, which is kind of going back into our patterning and conditioning. And the reason that I say this, aside from noticing it in a bit in my world and in the community, aside from that, the pull to go back into what is known and what is familiar from our personality and from our ego mind, it's so alluring, it's so strong, and it's so charged that in order to move forward with momentum into a new paradigm and a new reality, it really does take conscious awareness. And so I'm hoping that this transmission today is going to help you on this path as you navigate this. So I know many are bumping up against the programming and the conditioning. Many are bumping up against their fears. So I want to speak to all of that through this video today and through this podcast. So the thing that came through in the transmission when I connected with my higher self this morning and my guides was, you get to decide. So a real reminder that it is always, always up to us. The reality that we are choosing for ourselves. You get to decide now, in any moment, in any new, fresh, given moment. So put aside what's been already through the year. This is a reminder that you get to decide right now. You get to turn over a new page in your book, no matter where you're at, and decide, what am I available for? You get to decide what you want the universe to reflect back to you. The universe's language is one of vibration. So it simply matches, or another way to say this would be, it simply says yes to what you are either unconsciously or consciously choosing for yourself, what you are either consciously or unconsciously making yourself available for. So, are you going back into the familiar patterning because it's what you know, because it's the habit, because your body considers that that is safe and familiar? Remember, our body almost prefers a familiar hell over an unfamiliar heaven, or it does really, because it considers that, it perceives that known environment, that known conditioning as safety. And this is where the grasp of the mind and our ego conditioning can be so strong in pulling us back and in tempting us to believe that there's nothing out there. There's nothing out there down this new unfamiliar path. Come back here into what you know. However, there is a way, and it's about moving back into a place of empowerment. There is a way to move beyond that, to move beyond that conditioning. And this is the calling of 2025. This is the calling right now to choose a new way, to choose your alignment. Otherwise, it will be chosen for you, and it will be chosen for you based on your past conditioning. So if you want to see yourself, feel yourself in a different place, come the middle of the year, come the end of the year, maybe even come next month, then it begins with you. And it begins by consciously, this is that first step, is really consciously becoming aware of, where am I at right now? How does this feel? So if you are finding yourself that you're in stress, you're in overwhelm, hang on a minute, I'm here again. I was here a few months ago, and I've all of a sudden, maybe you've had this break over summer, over Christmas, or maybe winter if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, and I'm finding myself back in this same place. Okay, great. That's the first step, is awareness. What's really important when you notice this is that we can tend to come at this from a place of, shit, I've done something wrong, or from an energy of shame or victimization, right? That's not the point of this. This is really to show you how empowered, how powerful you are in your capacity to change course, to change the ship around and navigate a different course, and one that feels good. We're so used to making life harder for ourselves, thinking that we need to struggle, thinking that in order for us to achieve or accomplish anything of a certain level of magnitude, that we need to either sacrifice a part of ourselves or our happiness, or we have to work hard, or we've got to really struggle and strive. And I want to remind you that whilst that may have been your past, whilst that may have been what you've seen in generations before you, and you've simply taken on that conditioning, it's not where you're being invited to move into. It's not what is available to you as you move into 2025 and beyond. It is quite the contrary. We are being called into a new vibration and a new energy. But in order to do this, even within ourselves, it's not about pushing or forcing ourselves to be a different way, or to shame ourselves into being a different way because the way that we've been doing it is wrong. Instead, and this is really, really important, this part, it's about coming back into deep self-compassion and self-love around where we're at in the moment, the choices that we've made even that have led us to this point, knowing that that's okay. In fact, there's perfection there because we are where we're meant to be. So I want to say that again. You are exactly where you're meant to be, even though the mind may tell you that you're not. Your ego is going to tell you that you're not. But that's because the ego is so rooted in this idea, this illusion of separation and lack and scarcity. So it's embedded in the tone of you are not enough, aren't whole. And so therefore, you've got to struggle, strive, and do all of the things to achieve this elusive wholeness. It's never going to feel that, though. It is never going to feel that. It's your job to remember that your inherent nature is an expansive soul beyond your physical identity. You are tapped into all that there is. That is your nature. So coming back to that place, we remember and we recognize I am everything that I've been seeking. I am everything I've been looking for. It is never, ever outside of you. You will know this if you've attained or achieved anything in your life. It will be fleeting. There's that moment of gratification, that moment of joy and happiness. And then it's like, what's the next thing? Right? So we're on that kind of hamster wheel of trying to get to that place and realizing that it's not there. So that first step is really about acknowledging you're exactly where you need to be, offering yourself forgiveness, love, and compassion for where you are right now, and to meet the emotions that you're feeling, right? Our emotions are energy in motion. So one of the clearest, most aligned ways for us to be able to manifest anything in our life, if we're wanting to do it from an embodied perspective, not from an ego perspective where I'm manifesting something because I'm not comfortable with where I am. I'm manifesting something to get me out of where I am right now because where I am is not enough or is not fulfilling me, right? We want to ensure, and to me, that's a level of manifesting that is avoidant, that can be disassociating ourselves from the truth of where we are right now. When we come to manifestation that is deeply embodied and is soul aligned, like the type of manifestation that I teach is manifesting with soul. When we come to that place, there needs to be this deep recognition of our divinity as a soul, but also of our humanity, which means there's no shaming, there's no feeling like I've done something wrong or I'm not where I'm meant to be. It's compassion based. So meeting the emotion that's there, whatever you're bumping up against at the moment, maybe it's stress, maybe it's overwhelm, maybe it's confusion, fear, and doubt that's coming up. Realize that those emotions have a purpose. They're trying to keep you safe. They're trying to pull you back into the safe and familiar past. But you know now that there is a bigger, more expansive part of you that is calling you into a new reality, and one where you as a soul are able to co-create, to manifest from a place of ease and flow, from your divine nature, from more of a feminine way. This is the energy that we are really being invited to dance with at the moment. But in order to do that, we're not going to reject everything that's been or how we are at the moment. Instead, we turn towards it. This is what embodied manifestation is. What are these feelings inviting me right now to recognize, to notice? And, I can share a little bit about my own journey, because for many of you might know that I sold my business about 14 months ago, a business that I'd been in for a good amount of my adult life, like 15 years of running. It was a soul-led business, but it was quite a big business, and I had a lot of people involved in it. And when I moved out of that and when I shifted that, there was a certain level of dying away and of grieving of the old way of being. And there was a part of me, and I can reflect now, it was the more of the ego personality, or let's just say my personality, that was like, okay, now on to the next thing, right? I've moved from that. I'm ready for the next thing. Spirit had other plans. And I can see how the past 12 months or so for me have been about doing the deeper healing work, letting myself sit in the discomfort of not necessarily knowing what comes next. Our personality wants to jump ahead, and it's going to say things like, you should be further along. You should have this sorted right now. Like all of the shoulds. Whereas the invitation, when we're aligning with soul, is like, how can I let myself sit in the discomfort right now? And what is that here to show me? How can I let these fears that are surfacing become my teacher? And when you do this, a really amazing thing happens. You give those fears a place. You give them some breathing space. It's kind of like when you attend to a child. You might have a child that is upset. And when your child is upset, and even if maybe they've done something wrong and you want to use it as a teachable moment, it's always so important that you have that connection before correction, right? We can go in and try and correct the child. You did something wrong. You shouldn't have done that. But if they are in overwhelm, if they are in stress and they're crying and they're emoting, it's not going to work. In fact, it's just going to combust, right? If you've ever seen this with children, it's just going to get worse and worse and louder and louder. We need to be able to put all of that aside and hear them, listen, help them to feel acknowledged, connect with them, see what's there underlying deeper. And this is the same way that we deal with our fears and our emotions that come up. We meet them. We tend to them like we would an upset child. We give them room. And when we give them that room and that space to be heard, to be felt, so where am I feeling this in my body right now? When we do that, they dissipate. They don't have the hold anymore. And just like you would speak to that child and you would say, it's okay. We've got this. Everything's going to be okay. You have nothing to worry about. And you, being the wise adult, is able to offer that to that child with assurance and with love. We can do this in the same way to our own human emotions, because at the end of the day, whilst we are a soul, we're also a human. And we're meant to be a human in this lifetime. So the more that we can embrace the realness and the rawness of our humanity by giving ourselves this beautiful room to feel what we need to feel, to let ourselves emote, that's when we meet peace. That's when we meet peace. And really, this is the first layer of manifestation. It's coming back home and meeting what is there. And that also means meeting the neglected parts of you, the parts of you that are struggling, that are resisting, that are saying, I should be somewhere else. I should have manifested this by now. All of the shoulds. We soften. We meet what's there. And really, this feels very much in attunement with the energy of this year, which is inviting us into a place of allowing. We're moving from that hustle culture and the hustle mentality, which is always trying to take us out of ourselves. I need to get there. I need to get there. We do not manifest in that way, because there is always going to be out there. So how can we come home and go, what do I need to allow myself to feel right now? Okay. What do I need to meet here in order to let myself drop into peace? Now, what happens then is the more that you can feel that peace, the more that you can feel that acceptance for what is, the more that you are not so graspy or hooked into what needs to come and what's coming next. the quicker those things will naturally come to you, because you're not coming from a place of need or lack. You are coming from a place of wholeness, completeness. We can't create from lack. We're just perpetuating more lack. We can't create from a place of waiting and looking and searching and when it's going to arrive, because we're just perpetuating more of that anticipatory energy. So we want to be able to create from our wholeness. And coming back to where I began with this, like when we create from our wholeness, the universe just says yes. It brings you then more of the things, the people, the relationships, the energy, the opportunities that reinforce your wholeness, not your lack, that reinforce this energy of allowing. Because guess what happens when we allow rather than hustle? When we allow, we open up the gates of our heart and we say to the universe, here I am. I am available for this new energy. I am available for this abundance that's all around me, right? No matter what story you might have in your life, whether you grew up with money, whether you believe that you have money around you or not, we all as humans have access to the same level of abundance, because we all come from abundance. We all come from the same source, which is the abundant universe. So let this be a reminder to you that you can then therefore change your story at any time, right? It's kind of like, I'm taking off a piece of clothing that doesn't work for me anymore, that doesn't fit, that doesn't feel right with the energy that I'm moving into this year. And instead, I'm putting on something new. And this is where you can write a new story for yourself around money, what that looks like for you, a new story around who you are, who you're choosing to be. You get to decide. No one else, no one's coming to save you. And that might sound harsh, because quite often, sometimes it's nice just in our humanness to go, is someone going to come and save me and work it out for me, because life feels hard. But when we go to that place of doubt, of resistance, we are forgetting our own power. So let this reminder of no one's coming to save you ignite something in you, a recognition and a remembrance of your true inherent power. The universe is waiting for you to decide, my friend. It's waiting for you to go, you know what? This stress, this overwhelm that I'm feeling, whether this is in your business, whether this is in a romantic relationship, whether this is around your financial situation, whether this is with friendships, like in all the different areas that it might be showing up for you in your life right now, you get to decide, you know what? I'm actually not available for this anymore. I'm not taking this energy into the rest of 2025. Go a step further. I'm not a vibrational match for this anymore. I am taking off this story. I am turfing it out, and I am choosing for myself a new reality and a new story. And this is what it feels like. It feels good. It feels freeing. I'm in relationships that feel easeful and impactful and inspirational, whatever it is that you're seeking. My financial situation is improving. I'm open to receiving money from expected and unexpected sources. But before you get to that place, you first need to meet and acknowledge where you're at. You first need to meet those emotions, those fears, sit with them, feel them, tend to them, acknowledge them. And then you can tell them a new story. Okay, this is what it's going to be like. I see you, I feel you. I know you're trying to keep me safe, but the safest place that we can be right now is in alignment with my soul, and my soul is asking me to expand. Your soul is always here, whether you are tapped into hearing, listening to that wisdom or not. Your soul is here asking you to move forward. It's asking you to take a leap. is asking you to do something that might scare you. And it might be asking you to make a big, bold change, because if we want to move out of those familiar habits, a really great way to disrupt that pattern is to go, you know what? This true vibration of me, this evolved vibration of me that I'm coming back into sync with because I'm releasing the old patterns. They actually, and whatever is the new habit that you're wanting to create, right? Maybe it means changing your diet. Maybe it means getting up at 5 a.m. in the morning and doing something different. Remember, nothing changes if nothing changes. If we want to create that new reality, we need to be prepared to not only let go of the old ways, but install new patterns. For me, recently, it's been moving into fasting. I read Dr. Mindy's book, Fast Like a Girl, that my best friend put me on. And it's been transformational for me as a woman who is nearing towards the kind of premenopausal phase. And that's creating a new pathway in my brain that's saying, wow, look how I can do this. It's meant going to the gym and increasing my weights and physical exercise, right? It's moving beyond those growth edges, which then teaches ourselves, we teach our body, our nervous system, it is safe to expand. It's safe to move into a new pathway. So the invitation here is to really acknowledge, notice where you are. Are you where you want to be right now? Are you where you want to be in February 2025 or whenever you're listening to this? Are you where you want to be? And if not, come back home. Come back home. Because our soul speaks the truth and our ego speaks the lies. So, whatever it is that you are believing about yourself that is keeping you stuck in this positioning, you can let it go. You can clear out the lies and you can come back to soul alignment. What does my soul want me to know right now? What am I being asked to let go of? And I can hazard a guess that you already know. You're already getting these little nudges like maybe that relationship isn't serving me anymore. I've seen the signs, I'm getting the whispers. And so now it's that time to kind of put your money where your mouth is and go, you know what? I love myself enough to make a change here that is serving my highest good. Remember, when you are serving your highest good, you're serving the highest good of humanity. So, what is it there that's been asking you to make a change? Now is the time. Say yes to it. What has been niggling there in the background? A pattern, a thought pattern, a belief, a limiting belief that keeps perpetuating your reality. Is it time to look at that? Is it time to work with a coach or mentor that can help to spotlight your blind spots? Our blind spots are our subconscious programming, our subconscious limiting beliefs that are creating our reality on autopilot. 95% of what we are experiencing in our life is driven by our subconscious programming. And sometimes it's hard to spot that for ourselves. It's hidden in the background, but if you can work with someone who can help to highlight that for you, then you're able to clear it. And we need to be able to tend to it and clear it and release it before we can then move forward into the new. So if you want any support with this, I offer one-to-one mentoring. Reach out and get in touch with me. I will pop all of the details in the show notes as I do. I really hope that this helps you in moving from the hustle to allowing, and in allowing your discomfort to be a roadmap that is showing you how you can move forward into this new reality and how you can start to attune your vibration to a life that feels easeful, that feels joyful, that feels and offers you more abundance than you could ever have imagined. It is waiting for you, my friends, and it is up to you to decide to really call that in now. I love you so much. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe to my channels. I would love it if you could share this with anyone that you feel like needs it. I'm spreading the light through the world. And also, if you could leave me a review, let me know how you find this transmission, I would really appreciate that as well. Thank you so much and have the most beautiful day.